Hi guys, just as always, a quick rewind of the trades that I took recently. We're gonna start with one trade that was 2 weeks ago, and the others were all last week. So basically a last week recap plus one trade of 2 weeks ago. So we're gonna start with the one that is 2 weeks ago, and that is a GBP JPY long position. And we're gonna break it down as always. We're gonna start on the high time frame here, and as you can see, we have a nice double equals here on the 4 hour and an imbalance. And that on that day, that was Wednesday, got filled here, okay? So we have a tap into the imbalance and we have this as an inducement swept, okay? And once we go lower here in the 5 minute, we see that we have a beautiful reaction out here. We have a close break of structure above this structural point and also above this structural point on the M15. This looks super clean as well. Fair value gap on the M15. This is what we want to see. So a clear confirmation that after this inducement sweep, 4 hour imbalance tap, we will probably see a move higher, okay? And when I thought that we are retracing and we get, after this inducement was formed, an instant fat rejection here, this is when I market executed, okay? So after this candle or the next candle, I just market executed. And what was also juicy about this trade is the trend line that we had here, okay? So this was all low resistance liquidity. Everything here is balanced. There's not really something that could reverse price. We just swept the high time frame liquidity pool. So this was very confluenced. And so let's see how this played out, okay? And this was actually a very nuanced managing decision that I took. So let's see what happens here. First, we form another inducement. We fail to break higher. We feed the trend line, okay? And then ultimately, we break through the trend line. Retest it here from the other side. And then finally, we get our bullish continuation structure. And then we see that we have this big rejection here, okay? And then we come lower. Am I worried at this point? Let's analyze once again. We have this 1 hour fair value gap, okay? 1 hour fair value gap. So our thesis of the trade is basically that we can overpower that because we tapped into this 4 hour fair value gap. So it's basically this being stronger than that. And at that point, I'm not worried because this can easily be a fake seller's reaction. Some sellers giving resistance, but we still have this demand here. We have still the bottom inducement here with almost equal lows with the bottom demand. So we have plenty of areas where price maybe needs to come first before it's ready to launch. So I'm chill, I'm doing nothing. It's very late in the day already, but I'm still believing in the trade because I have all these POIs, this low time frame POIs in my position tool. So I'm doing nothing, okay? Then I chill, I see the price climbs higher again. This is where I got really confident after this close that this trade is gonna work, but then it comes shooting down like hell again, okay? And this is 16:45 now. This is basically when I decide if I hold the trade over the rollover or not, because it's literally 10 minutes away from you can't even close it anymore. So I had to make a decision. And on the 1 hour at that point, the 1 hour candle was here, okay, when I had to make that decision. And it swept the inducement here. And this is where I thought, this doesn't look too convincing. If you look at this from the 1 hour perspective, we have a 1 hour fat rejection. Then we come up again, we sweep this and instantly reject the whole hourly candle again. This was when I was saying I'm rather careful here because this is not what my average winner looks like. My average winner looks healthy price action, you know, mitigations and shoot ups, but not like a double fat rejection on a higher time frame. That barely a trade like that looks like that wins. It looks really like an inducement sweep of this first wick, and then sellers take over control, and probably we're gonna see a resweep here and then come higher. That's why I decided to not hold it and to not force hold it overnight, you know, because it just didn't look like a winner to me. You can also see how it comes down versus coming up. Super strong down, super choppy up, okay? So I didn't like what I was seeing, how price unfolded. So I actually closed this trade for a tiny profit here. And the other thing was that a couple hours after the rollover was interest rate decision. So I was seeing it as rather plausible that I'm like somewhere sitting in drawdown or at the entry just when the interest rate decision is released, and that can sometimes slip you. So I was careful. I closed my position here, and let's see what happened ultimately. So first of all, we come a little lower. We chop like crazy. Market is just waiting for that interest rate decision. So drawdown all the time. And ultimately, the interest rate decision happens exactly at my entry. So I would be sitting at my entry in a day trade of the day before, just waiting and praying for the interest rate decision. And I don't want to be trading like that. I want to be just on the right side of the market, catch a session impulse, and see healthy price action. So I was perfectly fine with my decision. Interest rate decision made just a little wick down and then completely sent price to my TP. But I think this is one of the rare break-evens that were so justified. I really can't be mad that I missed these profits, because it was just contextually so appropriate to go break even. So really, I was zero feeling like, oh my god, this was on my funded account. I paid out like 200 something dollars. If I would have held that, I would have paid out $3,200. But I was zero like, oh no, the money that slipped out of my hands. Or no, it's just, it was a reasonable trading decision. It made perfect sense to manage like that. And that's the first trade. Let's jump to the last week, okay? Where I took a couple of trades more. Okay, thanks for meeting me back on NASDAQ. This was my first ever NASDAQ trade, and it was from the high time frame, copy paste basically of the GJ trade. You see, we sweep this 4-hour inducement. Okay, we are on the 4-hour time frame. We sweep this as inducement. We have a huge fair value gap that we tapped into for the first time. So beautiful stuff on the high time frame, and we get the clean, as you can see now, reaction accordingly on the low time frame. Okay, so we have a huge push out, clean first leg, little base, second leg, fair value gaps on the M15, 2 legs, fair value gap, beautiful stuff, closing even above this structural point here. So this is completely flipped bullish now, and this is where I actually market executed right away, because NASDAQ likes to run away completely in one consecutive push after sweeping liquidity pools. So I was not gambling for a retracement. I just wanted to be in the trade, targeting the swing high. So the thesis was we sweep this inducement to make ultimately a higher high on the high time frame. So let's check how this trade went. First of all, we stalled. Then we had a nice push out. I was like, oh, this could easily rip the TP now, but it didn't. Came right away back to the entry. Then you see it's the around fuckery of darkness here. And ultimately, here it looks like bears are in control, but then we sweep this inducement, tap the bottom. We even sweep this little inducement here as the base, tap into the bottom demand, and I was like, could easily launch again. But now it's 1645 again. And on GJ, holding a trade is, I would say, easy peasy, if the context is right. But on NASDAQ, you cannot hold overnight because of the gapping that happens during the 1 hour that the market is closed. And you can see that in the next candle right away. Look how the market opens here. This is the market open candle at 6 p.m. If this candle gaps, imagine this is not there, this candle. In MetaTrader is literally, you only see this, and this is all a gap. So imagine this going against you. Obviously, you're going to get filled down here for like 2.5 times the risk that you were planning for. In my case, that's 5% because I risked 2%. So daily drawdown in the first 5 minutes of the day, account gone. So that's why you cannot hold this asset overnight at all. So I was forced to get out here for minus 0.25 hour or something, and had to watch it completely spark into profit and with no chance of re-entry. So frustrating. First nice little experience of with NASDAQ, but yeah, it is what it is. Ultimately, it didn't make it to the final target. It kind of stalled here forever and then slowly retraced and ultimately re-swept here before launching higher. So in the end, it wouldn't have hit TP anyway, but yeah, a little frustrating, but it is what it is. It's part of the game, and that's why it's so important to be a little more aggressive than in forex with the entries and a little bit more confident, so that that session impulse is enough to make you hit TP, because very often you're not gonna, like when you close and you look to re-enter, often you get a gap that doesn't let you re-enter for the same price. So yeah, that's that. So let's jump right into the next one. Same day, last week, this was Tuesday, and the same day on Tuesday I also took another trade on GU. So now we are on GU, same day, Tuesday last week, and for the first time here, we start on the daily time frame, by the way. So this is the daily time frame, and we see that we had this old structural high taken out a couple days earlier by this daily order block. Okay, so this turned out to form an order block after the sweep, and this led to a daily break of structure. Let's zoom in a little. We have this low that led to the sweep, and then we closed beyond that on the daily. So this is an order block that led to a change of character on the daily order flow, and we tap into this on the current day. Okay, last Tuesday we tap into this daily order block for the first time. So this is a great first base on the high time frame, and we see that on the 4 hour we also took out a lot of old intermediate internal structural highs. So we swept a lot of liquidity, and we have a powerful mitigation of a daily order block here. So once we zoom in more, we see on the 1 hour, at the time that I was looking to enter, we already had a 1 hour fair value gap, which is obviously cool to see. And when we go to the lower time frames, we see what was really convincing me, because the low time frame was really telling the story that this short is gonna work. Okay, so we start on the M5. Looks a little unorthodox maybe, but we have a first push down aggression fair value gap. Okay, so this is making me interested, because this could turn out to be something valid, but this could easily be, after a long day of complete bull control, just a little fake to grab some more bull orders to push even higher. Okay, so this can easily be a first little trap. But then what I was seeing is that we first of all failed to break the high. Then we chop and build liquidity below, above, consolidating for a while. Then we sweep the top of the consolidation, and we have a massive push lower, closing below the consolidation, failing to break the high here again. Okay, so this was what really told me that bears are taking over now. And you see how overextended the market is, and this shift with that momentum flip just tells me that the buyers are running out of steam and the sellers are ready, and the sellers are in the market. Okay, so when I saw that second leg, I was like, okay, it's time to sell. It was getting late though, so I didn't want to wait for a big retracement or anything. So ultimately I just market executed within here. Okay, and let's see how this played out. So let's zoom out again, just real quick. We fully closed this fair value gap, sweeping a ton of 4 hour highs, tapping into this daily order block. Low time frame. First leg, you see how the momentum comes in, consolidation, accumulation of liquidity, sweep the top, strong second leg. Okay, so this was ready to sell off. Do you see how balanced that is? Yes, it's kind of a strong consecutive bull push, but you see how tiny the candles are compared to this bearish leg. So it just tells me the sellers are ready. Okay, and let's see how this trade goes. Obviously, it was very late in the day already. It was an 11:20 entry, so I didn't expect this to hit TP in the same day. And this is what happens to me more and more. I wait for so many confirmations that I get shitty entries, basically, and I have to target a little further. But the confirmations, so many on top of each other, also makes the idea so strong, man, that I'm willing to hold stuff longer, you know? So yeah, I'm getting used to holding stuff longer, and yeah, as we can see, we are start a very corrective pullback here, forming a trend line. Price is inducing levels, for example here. Okay, so we sweep this as inducement, come lower. Then we sweep this as inducement, come lower. Then market is looking for more inducements to sweep. We come into this nice little fair value gaps here, and let's see what price does next. So here we fail to break. So what does the break? Fail to break lower. So what will we do? we come higher, we just need another inducement sweep. And this is, guys, you must not be panicking if your price action or if your trade does that. Low momentum corrective moves, building liquidity under your entry in a short position, just sweeping inducements, let it mitigate these POIs. That's why your stop loss is here and not here. So just chill, don't go break even, don't take partial losses or anything like that. Just let the market show you if you're right or wrong, okay? In that case, there's no need to manage anything, okay? Even though it's late in the day. So we have a late afternoon move here, back to the entry, and we have a little bit of a rejection, so the market tells me it needs to mitigate at least this new fair value gap before it can ultimately break lower. And this is what happens. Another inducement swept, another inducement swept, and now we have the orders collected from all these sellers to come lower. And this is just what happens during the whole trade, okay? We chop around again, sweep the inducement, come lower. So this was the most peaceful trade to watch ever because it was just complete bear control. You could read it in the price action that the bears were in complete domination mode, okay? We sweep the next inducement, then we come lower, fail to break the low, okay? So what do? We mitigate the POI, maybe we sweep the inducement, I don't remember. Look how the bulls behave. Like there's no intention. It's just wick, wick, tiny candle, wick, wick. No fair value gaps, nothing. There's nothing there from the bulls. Bulls have nothing to show for. Again, sweep of the inducement. We're coming lower. I think this time we broke the low. No, look, didn't work. So what are the sellers gonna do? Take the foot off the gas. Let the buyers come back into play a little bit, but you see there is no intention here from the buyers once again. So what do? We keep sweeping inducements. We have clean fair value gaps to mitigate. So again, please don't go break even if you see price action like that, because it's just showing the validity of the trade. Even though it might be a slow trade, shows the validity, okay? Boom, you see how the momentum instantly flips bearish again. And ultimately, we form the next lower low, and then we just follow the mitigations and the inducements once more. Obviously, this serves as inducement. It's not enough to break the low. What does the market do? Fool more buyers, sweep this as inducement, tap into this fair value gap. Then we have, but you see it still. Okay, this is maybe the first buyer's argument that I can say, okay, there's a little bit of buyer's control, okay? But this is I know this is a slow video, okay? And I'm discussing this trade since like, I don't know how long, okay? But this is an important lesson, how to read and interpret price to make more sane management decisions, okay? So here I was still zero worried because I still have the London high here for session liquidity that can easily reverse price back down again. And this still looks like a complex pullback, okay? So, and where does price react from? From here. This is all balanced. This is most likely not a point where a full reversal sparks from that ultimately makes a new swing high. It's just not how the markets normally work. Okay, so I was still confident. I just let it do its thing, sweep the inducements. So I was still observing, still chilling. Now we have this beautiful seller's trap. Okay, so seller's trap, early New York. We fool everybody, make a break of structure here, but barely. And this is the important detail. It's the first break of structure of the session, okay? And it's like barely. And we instantly come up again. Then we give like a fake second leg. It's like basically not closing lower at all, just to get everybody fooled that we're gonna sell off from here, okay? After the inducement sweep. What does the market do? Stop all the people out. We know that we can't short before we see a trap, except if we don't see a trap, we need a clean second leg and a clean first leg, like here. Do you see the difference between this setup on the low time frame and this one? You see how tiny that whole move is. You see how the second leg doesn't really close lower. Look here. We come high, we come higher, choppy, have a one strong push down, okay? And then we accumulate liquidity to sweep it and then rocket lower. You see how violent that move is, how big that move is. That is intention. That is flip of order flow, okay? This is nothing, sorry, but It's just what the experience shows you. You see the proportions of the candles and you know that this is a trap, because there hasn't been a trap before. So this is gonna be the trap. So yeah, if this makes a first leg and we see this and this closes down here, then I'm looking to short that, because that shows me intention. But this, like sweeping a little bit of the bottom, not closing below, this is easily can be a buyer's inducement. And this is what it was, because it came higher, as you can see here, okay? So we sweep that inducement, stop all the guys out that were trying to short here, and then we get the real move. It's always the same game. It's either clean 2 legs showing you that it's a real move happening now, or it's first a little bit of an iffy thing, like here, it's super iffy, then it stops you out, and yeah, you can almost guarantee that it's gonna sell off after. Look at the trend line forming here. Juicy, juicy. So me being in this sell trade, I was still like chilling my hits off, really. So we tap into this little gap here, which is beautiful. This is just price action to the T. This is what happens quite often. Gaps work very well on all assets, really. And the accuracy here was crazy. So we tap the gap here at the top, and then we shoot down with aggression, okay? First leg, second leg. So if this would retrace, you could have easily looked for a sell here. But I think this one was too violent. Yeah, this one didn't come back. So no entry for that day, except you enter here, but this is too early in my opinion. And then we just have another inducement sweep, as literally happened here already 30 times, okay? And then we ultimately, with the interest rate decision, this time I was in major profit, so I was just not managing at all. Just trusting my analysis, trusting that the news will fulfill the objective ultimately. And this is, oops, this is what happened, okay? Interest rate decision, final sweep of the inducement, and TP hit. So my TP was actually very humble. I was only targeting 1.6 R because I just wanted to be better safe than sorry, you know. Win rate is more valuable for than risk reward. I'm gonna do a video on that soon, why that is the case. I'm rather out here, and if this is somehow a buyer's inducement for price to reverse, I'm having my profits banked and I'm good, you know. But the ultimate target was, and this is what I forgot to say, this was another reason for the trade. We have a massive liquidity pool here below, okay? So this was another magnet for price, another thing that made the shorts a little more likely, okay? So my final TP was actually down here, okay? And we see that we actually nicely went for that on the next day. After the market rollover, we took that. For a while, actually retraced hard, did a little fake move in Asia, swept another inducement. You see how it's just always the same. Ultimately, final TP hit, so the analysis here was right. I think it was a very confluent trade, and I'm happy to have banked some profits on it. So the next trade is so the next trades actually are forward tests. So what I'm doing right now for the first time ever is like doing forward tests for real. Yes, sometimes I would put a position tool and like look at it and then I delete it again and I don't know, but track it. I never tracked something like that at all. But now I'm doing forward testing. I'm gonna explain you why, okay? I'm doing forward testing because I know that my setups are working well, but they are quite rare, okay? My setups are A+, so I have to wait for them long. So what I want to test is that I can be a little more aggressive, look for a little less confluence, and see if I still have an edge. It's not gonna be as big of an edge as what I have with these A+ setups, but if I maybe make 0.8 R per trade on an A+ setup and maybe 0.4 R on a B setup, I could still take the B setups with less risk, you know, but I don't know how good my B setups actually are. So this is what I want to try out now. This is why I'm forward testing a little less confluenced entries right now, and we're gonna go over the 3 trades that I took last week under that premise right now. Thanks for meeting me back on NASDAQ, and I'm gonna show you the first forward test that I took there. So we have on the 4-hour time frame these exact equal highs here on the 4-hour that later during the day got taken out. Okay, so we have a nice equal 4-hour structure point liquidity pool swept, and we also just tapped into this order block here. Let me just drag this across real quick. This is a nice little order block that we also after the sweep tapped into. So very, 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 very high probable area for a reversal if the low time frame confirms it. So what do? We tap into this order block, and this is exactly what we want to see. We get a huge push, we sweep the equal highs that were here, okay? And then price slows down, still makes higher highs, higher lows, but then momentum fades and suddenly we flip bearish with intention, okay? So this is again, we didn't see a seller's trap, okay? But that's okay because we have two clean legs here, okay? First leg down here, second leg closing below this here. So we have a close break of structure. We have two legs established, two fair value gaps here, and that confirms to me that the order flow is now flipped, okay? So in terms of purely candles, this was actually an A+ setup for me. Or maybe not A+ because the momentum is still strange. Like this was such a strong push up. And the move down, yes, it's there. But the momentum flip could be a little more clear to me. I would say that. But apart from that, it was an A+ setup. Except that it's also very late, okay? So I took this as a forward test. Mostly because of the momentum. I like to see more momentum in my setups, to be honest. Or more the flip of momentum. So I wanted to see the sellers dominate a little more here. And the other was just time of day. It was too late for me to... I don't have experience in that PM window of Nasdaq. So I was careful. I was rather taking that as a forward test. And I entered here, market execution. No, actually in the next candle. Yeah, next candle, I market executed here. And... let's see how this trade goes, okay? So thesis is simply get in for a good price, get a little retracement. Even if it's just going into discount of this leg, I'm already out for TP, okay? This is how you can often trade Nasdaq because it's just so volatile, okay? So we see that the bearish order flow maintains. We make another lower low. So let's read into the price action once again. We sweep inducements here. We come back to the top to mitigate it. This is not the momentum that I wanted to see. So here I was expecting to get stopped out actually. But ultimately the bias was correct. We swept enough liquidity for the sellers to ultimately take over again. So this was all just a complex pullback, which you can only see in or know in hindsight in that case, because we did see some momentum of the bulls. So I'm not gonna lie, this looked like a loss, and I'm not 100% convinced that I wouldn't have gotten out of this one, to be honest, because this really looked like a loser at that point. Difficult to say because it's obviously hindsight. So. Yeah, but I would not blame anybody for getting out here, because you see how we come up versus coming down. This is not what your average sell win looks like. This more looks like a stop out, to be honest. But ultimately the analysis was correct. We just swept so much liquidity here and we tapped into this order block here. So ultimately sellers won the battle, and it was a TP hit for 2R. That was the first Nasdaq forward test. We're gonna jump right into the next one. So on the next day, I took another forward test, and we are still respecting here at that point. We are still respecting the supply that the other forward test formed here. Okay, so we are on the M15 here. Price taps into this supply, late London, and respects it. Okay, then we have this new whipsaw, and first of all, let's zoom out again. Basically, but it's basically the same high time frame situation. Okay, we were in this from the last trade. We swept liquidity, we broke lower. So we are high time frame wise, we are only mitigating this area here, which is a reason why I didn't take this as an actual trade. We didn't see a sweep of the previous day's high, so there's not really any liquidity swept, to be honest. So that's why I wasn't too keen on getting in that with any real risk. Okay, it was just a forward test for an aggressive entry to basically follow this established order flow here that is now bearish, to take that lower, okay, because we have a trend line here now, and we are still coming from a high time frame liquidity sweep that I expect to target this low here. So that was the thesis, that we simply can follow the now clearly bearish market lower. Okay, so I got in as a forward test in here, just as at this inducement. I was grateful that it does pull back at all. Nasdaq doesn't often do that, so I just market executed in here, and let's see how that went. Here, nice little inducement, breaking potentially lower. Very choppy though, and this is what sometimes happen in late New York session. It's just momentum fading, and it can kick back in at any time, but you just don't know. So here we sweep the top inducement once more. We kind of want to come down, but also not really. It's just choppy. There's nothing really going on. So here at the end of day, again, I was forced to just close it. It was a tiny profit. Ultimately, basically, I break even, and the market opens like this, which is why you cannot hold overnight. This was over the weekend anyway, so this was yeah, just don't do that. Because that again would have been like 2.5 stop losses plus spread. I don't know, like maybe 3 stop losses, I don't know. So it is just what it is. It didn't work out. Market was done basically after this move happened, so that can obviously happen at any time. So now I have one more forward test on GBP JPY, and then we're done. So GBP JPY on the 1 hour time frame sweeps this inducement, closing this fair value gap here on the 1 hour and tapping into this 1 hour order block. So this is a nice combination. We have liquidity swept, FVG filled, order block tap, nice combination. On the 4 hour, we also just filled a huge fair value gap that we tapped into for the first time. Okay, and we see that this demand sends price higher to potentially break this high. So the market is super bullish anyway, so we can look for a potential continuation to take out this and this high. Okay, and the low time frame obviously has to show that this is the play today, and it did. Okay, so we mitigate the fair value gap, we chop down. You see how the sellers are running out of steam completely. Then this is just perfect. We get a nice buyer's trap here early. London, get everybody fooled. Okay, then the market comes lower, stops everyone out. The institutions are happy getting their orders filled, and then the real move happens. Okay, we close above. We close into this supply as if it doesn't even exist. Then we come down. You see all the wicks. You see how this is just having buyers here waiting to bounce all the time. You see how wicky that is. Okay, and then we come higher. We didn't have a second leg yet. We reject the top, but I'm still confident this is gonna hold, because at this point I think the market is flipped bullish, and the high time frame from me overpowers the low time frame. So I wasn't worried that this is from here making a lower low. That would be very unusual. And so this was London session. This was me starting working, falling out of bed, being completely tired, and also having zero experience with London session. So I was saying, I'm gonna take this as a forward test only. It's not my session, and I was literally so sleepy. I went online and saw this candle and did like the analysis in like 2 minutes. Okay, yes, valid. Forward test better. Before I burn myself here 2 minutes after waking up, better I just take it as a forward test. But honestly, in hindsight, this had everything that I want to see in a trade. I should have definitely taken that. Yeah. So I ultimately took this as a forward test. Okay, so you're gonna see that forward test for me, I never delete the position tools. It's always gonna be the turquoise stop loss color. Okay, the blue stop loss color is the stuff that I actually take. So another forward test. We basically create bullish order flow right away. So here I get the second leg that I was expecting anyway. So we have that first leg, second leg, and You just see the fair value gaps and the momentum is all on the bull side. So this trade is looking very, very healthy. So what do? We sweep an inducement, make equals here. Okay, so now we have a liquidity pool beyond towards our TP. That is great. Then we have some Newswick here. Newswick mitigates the demand here, makes a massive rejection, and ultimately we flip bullish again with nice momentum. We close above the inducements here, which is great. Shows me that buyers are still in control. Okay, if we sweep here and then shoot down, I'm getting a little concerned. Okay, but we sweep this and we get zero reaction. We just casually close again above it. So that tells me complete buyer's control. Then we have this inducement here. What could the sellers do if they would be, or if they would gain control? Sweep, sell off. Okay, what do we get? No reaction at all. Bottom wicks here. Okay, so again, complete bull domination. We sweep that inducement and ultimately come higher right away. We make the next inducement, sweep the inducement, have a nice fair value gap right away. And ladies and gentlemen, this is what a bullish market looks like. Just inducement, higher high. Build up of liquidity, inducement, higher high. It's just perfect price action. Honestly, this trade was just beautiful because just perfect order flow, perfect price action, and you have to be zero concerned about the trade. Look at all the bearish candles here. There's no intention there. There's like, you're like in the trade, like looking great, man. Obviously it can change at any moment of time, but it didn't. And that's just great to see, man. It was a beautiful trade, beautiful price action, beautiful fulfillment of price. And the price just moves in the same way, man. It's just beautiful. For me, it's pure art. Seeing that stuff over 2 years now, every day, so many hours. I feel like I can read it and it's just so satisfying, you know, to be able to know what's going on. Even if you get stopped out, obviously I get stopped out too. But you can anticipate it, you can prepare it, you sometimes can manage it correctly, you know. It's just, trading is the coolest job in the world, man. That was the last forward test. So what I'm actually doing is, just give me a second. So this is my forward testing spreadsheet here, where I journal my forward tests completely separately from TradeZeller. TradeZeller for me is for actually executed trades, and I do execute with 0.01 lots the forward tests, but I want to journal that completely separately because I want to also have a mental separation. Okay, I want to know when a setup is B or A+. I want to have that separated in any way I can. Separate journal, separate risk. Maybe only take it on challenges and not on funded accounts. I want everything to be so split that I'm never ever gonna get confused if a setup is B or A+, you know. And that's my approach for it. And that's it. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of trades, a lot of good stuff happening. Not a single loss the last 2 weeks. Finally, the markets give more entries again. The weeks before that, 3 weeks, there was like nothing going on. So I'm grateful that we have setups again. Guys, I hope you learned something from this. If you have any questions, shoot me in the comments. I'm gonna help every single one of you out. And I appreciate you all. Honestly, before you go away, journaling is so tedious for me nowadays because I'm just always doing the same stuff. I feel like I know what I'm doing. I'm doing always the same stuff. Maybe with the forward testing, it's a little more interesting again, but my A+ setups, even if they win, I have zero motivation to journal it. And I have to thank you because making these videos is my journaling process. And knowing that you guys watch this and appreciate this and like this and comment on that gives me so much joy. And it's like the sole motivation for me nowadays to journal, actually, even like especially in detail, you know. So thanks for giving me that. I hope I give you something back with the value of my experience and how I explain things. If you have any feedback how I can improve on that, of course I appreciate it, but no, I don't want to start rambling forever, so I'm gonna send you off. Thank you so much for watching and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.